She was always the quiet one, but when the school bully pushed her too far in the cafeteria, he ended up on the floor, crying. What happened next will leave you speechless. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening. Your support means everything. Asterisk. The bell rang, signaling the start of lunch. Lily packed her books and headed toward the cafeteria, her stomach a little anxious. As always, she found a quiet corner near the window, settling down with her friends, who were already deep in conversation about the latest school gossip. Lily took a deep breath, trying to tune out the noise around her. The cafeteria was always crowded, and she liked it better that way. It made her feel like she was invisible. She wasn't popular, and that was fine with her. All she wanted was peace and quiet. Her thoughts were interrupted by a group of boys walking past her table. At the front of the group was Tyler, loud, boisterous, and always looking for trouble. His eyes locked onto Lily, a smirk spreading across his face. Well, he sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. If it isn't the girl who thinks she's too good for everyone. Lily froze. She'd heard his insults before, but today, they hit harder. She felt her cheeks flush, but she kept her head down, hoping he would go away. What's that you're eating? Tyler continued, his voice loud enough for half the cafeteria to hear. You seriously still eat that stuff? Looks like something out of a toddler's lunchbox. Lily clenched her fists, trying to ignore him. She wished she could just disappear. The other kids around her giggled, and her face burned with embarrassment. Tyler's taunts were nothing new, but today felt different. He was leaning in close now, his face twisted in mockery. The words felt sharper, crueler, as if he was trying to break her down. Her hands shook as she tried to steady herself, but she couldn't focus. Her thoughts were scattered, and she couldn't help but feel small, insignificant in his presence. Hey, are you even listening to me, loser? Tyler snapped, shoving her tray slightly to the side. Come on, don't pretend you're too good to talk. Lily's food spilled over the edge of her tray, splattering across the table and her lap. She gasped, looking down at the mess in disbelief. The laughter around her grew louder, but the noise felt like it was in another world, muffled by the rush of panic in her chest. Before she could even process what was happening, Tyler shoved her again, harder this time, knocking her to the ground. The cafeteria fell silent for a second, and then a buzz of whispers erupted. Lily's palms burned as she tried to push herself up, but she felt like all the strength had drained from her body. Tyler stood over her, looking down with an arrogant grin on his face. What's wrong? Can't take a joke, he mocked, his voice rising in volume. Lily wanted to cry. She wanted to scream, but her body felt like it was frozen in place, her voice lost to fear. She couldn't take it anymore. All the years of bullying, all the hurtful words, and now this, her food, her pride, all scattered on the floor. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. Her hands trembled as she stared at Tyler's smug expression. And then, something shifted. Deep inside, Lily felt something snap. No more. With a force she didn't know she had, Lily sprang to her feet, shoving Tyler with every ounce of strength she could muster. The impact sent him stumbling backward, his arms flailing for balance. Tyler's expression went from surprise to terror as he toppled backward, crashing to the floor with a loud thud. The cafeteria went dead silent. Lily stood there, her chest heaving, trying to catch her breath. Her hands were still shaking, and her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Tyler lay on the ground, blinking up at her, his face a mixture of shock and confusion. A few students gasped, others whispered, and for a brief moment, Lily couldn't move. She didn't know what had just happened. Her body had just reacted without thinking, driven by something primal. And now, Tyler, the bully who had terrorized her for so long, was the one on the floor, crying in front of the entire cafeteria. Tyler's friends rushed over to him, pulling him up, but he didn't stand immediately. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, his face a deep shade of red. The sound of his sobs filled the room, and it was as if the weight of the entire situation finally hit him. The boy who had been known to pick on everyone was now the one breaking down in front of everyone. Humiliated, Lily turned and walked away. She didn't know why she wasn't scared. Maybe it was the adrenaline, or maybe it was the sheer relief of finally doing something to defend herself. Her legs wobbled as she left the cafeteria, and she could hear whispers behind her, but she didn't care. She didn't care anymore. When the principal called her into his office later that day, Lily's heart skipped a beat. She feared she might be in trouble. After all, she had pushed Tyler, and no matter the circumstances, that could be seen as aggression. Her hands were clammy as she sat in the waiting room, waiting for the inevitable reprimand. But when she walked into the principal's office, she was met with a calm, understanding expression. "Lily, I heard what happened today," Mr. Harris began gently, "and I want you to know that what you did was in self-defense. You were provoked, and from what I understand, Tyler has a history of bullying students. We're going to take care of this." Lily felt a wave of relief wash over her. It wasn't her fault. She hadn't done anything wrong. She just stood up for herself. As the day went on, Lily's thoughts kept drifting back to what had happened. She had always been so afraid of confrontation, so afraid of speaking up, of standing her ground. But today, she had done it, and something inside her had changed. She felt stronger, more powerful, like she could take on anything that came her way. Tyler's parents came to school later that afternoon, and the situation escalated quickly. They were furious, demanding that Lily be punished for her actions. They claimed she had caused their son injury, though no one had seen Tyler in any serious pain. He was embarrassed more than anything. It was clear that his parents had never seen their son's behavior as a problem. But the principal didn't back down. He calmly explained the severity of Tyler's actions and the consequences of bullying. Tyler's parents were forced to accept that their son needed help, and that it was time for him to face the consequences of his behavior. The confrontation ended with Tyler being sent to counseling. As Lily and her mother walked out of the school later that day, the weight of everything finally started to sink in. The fear she'd carried for so long had been replaced with something new: empowerment. She had faced her fears, stood up for herself, and won. Over the next few weeks, Lily found herself growing stronger with every passing day. Her confidence soared as she realized she didn't have to be afraid anymore. Tyler, on the other hand, seemed different. His behavior in school had changed. He was quieter now, less aggressive, and there was an air of uncertainty around him. Lily didn't hate him for what he had done, but she knew that standing up for herself was the right thing to do, no matter how hard it had been. As she looked back on that day, Lily realized something important. Sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones we fight within ourselves. And when we finally find the courage to stand up, it can change everything.